I have read countless books and listened to countless philosophers that are way, way smarter than me. And here's my overall theory on what reality is. I believe that we are individual fractals of God that chose to incarnate into this divine simulation for the purpose of rediscovering our own divinity through our authenticity / our authentic expression. So whoever we were meant to become. I think about this all the time, of free will versus fate, and I still haven't figured it out. But what I do believe is in the concept of something called soul contracts. And there's a lot of books and different thought leaders about this. I believe that we chose to incarnate, and we each have kind of a mission of sorts. It doesn't have to be a grandiose mission, but I believe that we each have things to fulfill in our soul contracts, these different obligations, and we chose to incarnate from the spirit world for the evolution of our souls. And so that means we chose things we want to accomplish, ways we want to evolve and develop, and that includes choosing our family members, choosing our allies, and also choosing the people that would wrong us or betray us or challenge us, things like that. To me, that has brought me a lot of solace in knowing that I chose my family members and my allies and the people who would betray me, because it would actually help push me, help evolve me, whatever. Now, I know that seems kooky and that seems crazy. A lot of the ancient texts and sages say that we're individual fractals of God. If there is a God, and that God is everything, like the Hermetic principles state that everything is God and all-encompassing, then that means we're part of that same force as well. The same way a drop from the ocean is still part of the ocean, or a ray from the sun is still the sun. It's separate, yet still part of the overall entity. And so if I was this omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent being, what have you, by far the most interesting thing I could do, if I already know everything that's going to happen, if I already can make anything happen, what is there left to do? Well, the most interesting thing would be to give myself infinite amnesia by splitting myself off into countless fragments of energy, of divinity, and then everyone has their own little missions, their own little purpose to fulfill, their soul contracts, and they rediscover that by following their authenticity, by uncovering their authenticity, by uncovering who they're meant to be and how they're meant to live, express themselves, create, what have you. To be those own little fragments of God in whatever their soul mission is. It could be something grandiose, curing cancer, whatever, or it could be something that is seemingly mundane. And I've read that everything matters equally. It's only the ego where it's like, yes, curing cancer is more important than working at a bakery, whatever. What if this person's soul chose that? What if they've been royalty for 10 lifetimes and they wanted to experience a simple, quaint life by being an expert at making sourdough bread? And so what is involved in discovering who we really are? I mean, obviously there's countless systems, there's personality tests, things like that. For me, the most important and useful tool has been a tool called human design. It sounds so freaking kooky. When I first heard about it, I thought it was the dumbest thing I ever heard. But it combines systems like astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, and other systems into kind of this cohesive operating model for how to live in day-to-day life. And for me, it has been really profound and refreshing, because some people, things come naturally to them, or they're very energetic or whatever, and other people just operate differently. And if you operate differently from the masses, that's extremely disorienting, because then you think about, hey, what's wrong with me? Why are things not working for me? Why do other people have more energy? Why do I feel different than other people? Well, what if you were meant to be different in the first place? And this kind of operating model, this map of your energy and how things work, could give you validation and allow you to appreciate yourself and ultimately love yourself, which is all that we ever want. I think learning to accept yourself and love yourself is often really freaking hard. But if there is kind of what I was talking about earlier, with some kind of general model of, hey, we chose to incarnate, we were divinely designed in some way, and we're individual fractals of God, And if God is omniscient and omnipotent, God can't make mistakes, right? What if, hypothetically, we really live in a benevolent universe? I believe it was Einstein who said that was the most important question. And to me, my whole life I've wondered, am I doing it right? Am I making mistakes? What happens if I don't do it right? What happens if I don't figure it out? Whatever it is, living correctly. And so maybe the only thing to figure out is how to be ourselves, how to be who we were meant to be when we chose to incarnate. And does that allow ourselves, in addition to being ourselves, can we kind of soften into a knowingness that it could all be okay, that we live in a benevolent universe, that we're not risking making a mistake or other people have things figured out instead of us, or why do things come easier to other people than us? I think it was Joseph Campbell, famed myth expert. I think he said the journey of a lifetime is to become yourself. And that quote ties into everything I talked about. What if it's not about timelines of, hey, why hasn't XYZ happened in this amount of time? I know I think about that a lot. Why hasn't XYZ happened? It's happened for other people. Why can't I just be like this person or that person, whatever? And it's okay. What if my only job is to be myself? What does that really look like? What does that entail? Who am I? And how can I just focus on that, operate like I'm meant to, like I'm designed to, and just focus on staying in my lane and trusting that if I do that, it will eventually work out in the way I already chose it to. When again, I was in the spirit world and I chose to incarnate for this wacky mission of being a human and forgetting that I'm an individual fragment of the divine. That's kind of my theory of reality. I think about this all the time. Again, we have this perpetual amnesia where, okay, maybe this theory sounds great, but then what about when it comes to real life situations, when it comes down to having to pay the bills, when it comes down to material reality not telling that same positive story? And then I guess that's where a leap of faith comes in. So anyways, this is my first of these videos. I like to have these philosophical musings, so like and subscribe for more.